By the time we finish, you'll walk away out of here better prepared than 95% of people out there, other people out there. We'll get started. So, it started as love. A woman named Liza has spent decades building a beautiful life, a career, a marriage, a sense of who she was in the world. Then her husband passed away, and overnight, the life that she had built felt very quiet, and she was all alone. And one day, a message appeared in her Facebook inbox. His name was Donald, and he was one of a gold miner. Working in an Australian outback, he was very handsome, articulate, and very attentive. And he was very, very interested in Liza. They talked every single day for 2.5 years. He remembered everything she told him, her favorite memories, her late husband's quirks, the way she liked her mornings. He even started using pet names for her that her husband had used with her. Think about what that means. He wasn't just sending her messages, but he was studying her and using all that he had learned to go into a deeper relationship with her. So how does someone fake that level for 2.5 years? That's exactly the right question, and this is how we're going to answer it. Donald was very patient. He was very methodical. This was not random. He created intimacy through relentless attention, morning messages, evening check-ins, little observations that made Liza feel seen. He studied her like a target and loved her like her husband loved her. He made her feel something that she hadn't felt since her husband died, and that someone in the world was paying so much close attention to her. This was not a flaw in Liza's judgment. This is a fundamental human need, and these criminals know exactly how to exploit it. After 2 years of building trust, he asked for a small amount of $1,000. Just a Wi-Fi router. He was in a remote area of the outback. He needed a secure connection to stay in touch with her. And then he sent her a video. He had several $100 million in gold bars, a safe, a first-class plane ticket to Las Vegas, where they were finally going to meet in person. And that's where he was going to marry her. This is called the lure. You get someone to commit small, and then you show them something enormous, and then now the small investment feels like it's protecting the big payoff. The gold was real, but to ship it, he needed $140,000 for logistics company. That then came a call from Spain. He was arrested. He needed $250,000 to get bailed out, to get home to her, to marry her. Liza sold her home. She emptied her savings. $1,200,000 was gone to a man she had never once met in person. So Donald wasn't real. There was no Donald. There was no gold line in Australia, no safe, no plane ticket, no wedding. The photos were stolen from a real person's social media account. The operation was run by a criminal network overseas, like using multiple people to maintain a relationship around the clock. They deliberately targeted widowed women on Facebook. This wasn't opportunistic, it was a campaign, and Liza was selected. The technical term for this is catfish scam. Specifically a romance scam, and it's one of the fastest growing categories of financial fraud. But Liza is a real person. She still is. She is a real person. She was a backup singer for Stevie Nicks and Linda Ronstadt. She had a career, a history, a whole life, and she was still rebuilding from this when her story was reported. She was not a this was not a cautionary tale. She's a neighbor, a client, someone's mother. This scam happened thousands of times a year. Most victims never come forward because of the shame they feel, even though they did nothing wrong. And what happened to Liza was not a failure of intelligence. She's very successful. It was a result of deliberate, sophisticated criminal operation designed to exploit trust. And that's why we're here tonight. What just happened to Liza wasn't random, like I said. It's followed a playbook. Step one, online contact. A message out of nowhere, friendly, charming, no red flags with that. Step 2 is daily communication. Morning text, evening calls, a rhythm that starts to feel real. Step 3, emotional attachment. He knew her husband's pet names. He made her feel seen. By this point, the relationship feels completely genuine. Step 4 is a first small request, $1,000. A Wi-Fi router. It's reasonable and easy to say yes. Step 5, escalating transfers. Now the investment is in. So you don't want to walk away because you feel like you put too much money and invested too much money. So the money keeps flowing. Every step is calculated and every step is designed to get you to the next one. And romance scams are just one of the threats that we're going to talk about tonight, because the same psychology, building trust and exploiting it, shows up in scams and fraud, and it's something brand new that's changing everywhere, everything with decodes. Liza's story is dramatic, but the numbers behind it are striking. Scammers deliberately target people in and near retirement because that's where accumulated wealth is. Loneliness and isolation, which are genuinely more common after retirement, increase the vulnerability, and the average loss in a romance scam exceeds $500,000. Families rarely see it coming. The victims often hide out in shame or because the relationship feels private and precious to them. So what can we actually do about it? And that's where we're headed tonight. Education is the best protection, not fear, but knowledge. The moment you understand the schemes, how the schemes work, they lose most of their power. So we're going to get into it with Brian and Lester.
Well, thank you, Kelly. We appreciate you opening us up. We welcome everyone here tonight. As we talk about the title, the scams, frauds, and deep fakes, we're going to, as she said, we're not trying to scare anybody tonight, but we're not going to act like we're some kind of just computer gurus talking about computers and cybersecurity. We are going to talk about different scams and frauds tonight and ways to protect yourself. So first, before we get into this, I just wanted to make sure I'm thanking certainly everyone involved tonight. Gail, you met Gail in the back. She puts these events together for us, puts out all the reminders and invites. Gail's back here doing the ice cream right now, so thank her. And obviously, know Kelly. Patty Russell, Patty's right there. You know Patty. Janet Griffin. And then I'd like to introduce you to the newest member of our team. He just joined us Monday. He's been working as an intern, Russell Anch. He is, you'll see his face. He's in training. He's a new graduate of Lenore Ryan, and we're happy to have him. So we welcome him, and thank you all for being here. And thank Center Street Eats as well for providing the food. They always do a good job. Hopefully you're enjoying that. So as we start out every evening, we talk about every one of our workshops, the 5 key areas of financial planning. There are 5 areas, and I know that you don't see scams and frauds up here, thankfully, but this does fall into preservation planning because we want everyone to preserve what they accumulate. And retirement planning is certainly, we feel so important about it, it's in our name. Proactive tax strategies and tax planning is an area that we work in quite a bit. Jamie Eckert was unable to be here, but he's a part of a newly formed tax firm that we started, Southeast Tax and Consulting, this year. He was unable to be here tonight, but tax planning is an integral part of it. Estate planning and how that interacts with your overall financial plan. And then certainly how you invest your money and investment planning. Those are your 5 key areas. So tonight we're going to be talking more along the lines of preservation planning. And me and Les are going to be kind of going back and forth, not like a podcast, but much like what we do, just when we're doing some of our videos you may have seen online, some of our podcasts. I'm not saying they're going to be award-winning or anything, but that's just how we do them. But you can find those on our website, which you can see up here on our home screen. It has several different tabs. The podcast episodes are all there, and it also has everything log on for clients. You can log on to your access your accounts 24/7. You can find your informational calculators. You can even, many people don't do this, but you need contacts. So it's a great resource when people have found a lot of value in it. But just to kind of sum up how we work, we've got a number of guests here tonight. If you're looking around and have an orange name tag, you're a guest. If you blue, you work with us currently. But orange name tag, you see a blue name tag, see an orange one, see what you take, just ask them some questions, find out about us. But you can find out a lot about us on our website. And how we work together is found in this slide. We kind of serve as a quarterback in one situation. And that is, working with one's attorney, maybe their long-term care specialist, their accountant, even if it's not Jamie or someone that works close to us, we interact with them, and making sure that the strategies are appropriate for you or anything that come up that help your situation. We will certainly have conversations with them. And then certainly, as you go and interact with taking Social Security, or if there's any strategies as you make those decisions, we'll assist with that as well. Let's dive in and talk kind of the challenge for this evening.
Before we start, I want to apologize to these people in this section right here. You're probably not going to be able to see any slides I have a humongous head. And I'm probably blocking the slides, but you drew the short straw, I'm sorry.
He just beat me to that punch. Normally that's my line. I share that with everybody, but didn't get my But there is another challenge other than what he just mentioned, and that's the challenge that kind of solved today. People are being fooled out there and out of their money because of artificial intelligence. Now it is very helpful, and I'll say it is something that we're going to bring up. That there is some significant concerns with it, but it's making the most smart consumers vulnerable and to scams that they can't even see coming.
Yeah, so in 2024, 859,000 Americans reported being scammed. That number represented real people, your neighbors, relatives, friends. Of the people targeted, 41% actually lost money. And the total losses exceeded $16.6 billion, which was up 33% from the year before, and that was in 2024. Investment and romance scams caused the highest dollar losses, averaging $2,000 a victim. And, that's not counting the emotional toll that it costs people. The problem is enormous. I know all of us are getting random texts and hit up every day, but, the money's one thing. The emotional problems that people are dealing with that have gotten caught up in these scams are even a whole nother situation.
So why are they working so well? Is really so. Why are these these are being affected by smart people, careful people? They're getting caught, and it's because these scammers, they're no longer just clever. They're using AI. They're using everything to kind of leverage and play off of human emotions. They're able to craft the most believable stories and exploit those emotions. So the emotions that kind of trigger, Les was kind of talking about, loneliness, the love for one's family, trust in authority, embarrassment, fear of loss, discomfort with technology. These aren't weaknesses, they're just human traits, and scammers are learning how to weaponize them.
So when we leave here today, when you guys leave, hope you're able to recognize some of the triggers that scammers have that basically short circuit our rational behavior, our ability to rationalize what is the right thing to do. Hope you're able to identify patterns that appear in almost all the scams, especially romance, investment, and tech scams. A go through the proof method, which is a step-by-step process to help avoid scams, and then show you how to respond quickly if you are happen to be scammed as well. So this isn't we're not trying to make you paranoid. We're trying to get you prepared if you are approached with a scam or if you do get caught up in one.
Some of these tips are are sitting in front of you, and we'll call your attention to those later. We'll be touching on those throughout the presentation. Certainly, let's just brought up the one that's sitting in front of you, and Gail's done a good job of putting this in front of you. But you always got talk to a bunch of financial guys. You always got to have a CYA slide up here. So for educational purposes, this is what this is for. There's no guarantees here that these you still get taken advantage of. These scammers are very smart. There's no one single method that can eliminate any risk whatsoever.
So before we get into the technology of the scams these days, let's talk about the human element and what it's like, how stress and affects our decision making. Because technology scammers use sophistication, but the real reason that the scams work are because they're able to pull on our human emotions.
So that brings us down to key idea number one, and that scams succeed not because people are careless, but it's because scammers weaponize emotion and cognitive bias faster than our rational thinking can even respond. So let me say that again, because it matters. It's not about carelessness. It's about the way the human brain works, if you will, and the way that it not just works, it works under pressure. And once you understand that, you stop blaming the victim, you start building real defenses, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
So everybody knows what alternative intelligence is. AI, you hear that all the time now. It's becoming more and more a part of our lives. These scammers are using AI quite a bit, and they're designed to trigger specific emotions that bypass our rational thinking. They're playing on our fears. They're creating fake emergencies. Your account is locked. Your grandchild is in trouble. Your social security number is being compromised. Which then creates an urgency. You hear your grandchild's in trouble. Well, you want to act, and you feel pressure to act immediately. And so you're not thinking rationally. And then they're playing on our compassion and our love. And they can create an AI deep fake voice. I don't know if you've heard that. They can create a voice that sounds just like your grandson or your wife, and that they're in crisis, which makes you not think rationally, think somebody's in danger. So, and then the other thing is they're going to play on your emotions to make you embarrassed. And so once they get into that type of emotion, then they use their tactics to make you feel foolish and they kind of make you not want to rationalize them and ask other people's opinions.
So beyond emotion, there's these mental shortcuts, which are called cognitive biases that scammers exploit just as deliberately. Let's look at four of them. So the first is authority bias, as you can see up here. We're wired to trust people in authority, like police, doctors, government officials, banks, representatives. And scammers impersonate all of them. And then there's social proof. When we believe others are doing something, our brains say that it must be safe. Scammers, they manufacture this with fake reviews, fake investment clubs, fake communications, making us think, well, if everybody else is doing it, it must be safe. And really, it's just all fake. Optimism bias is most of us believe that bad things happen to other people, not us. And this confidence makes us less vigilant. And then there's also this sunk cost fallacy. Once we've invested time, as Kelly mentioned, as the lady went down kind of rabbit holes, once you invested so much time and money or emotion in something, the lady struggled to walk away. We struggle to walk away, and even when we should,
So if someone with an official badge tells you to do something, do you question them? Take a second and honestly ask yourself, if a police officer, a federal agent, a bank representative, a government employee, ask you to take urgent action on something, would you comply or would you pause? Most of us would comply. I probably would. I grew up to, conditioned to respect authority. And I feel like that's a pretty healthy instinct to do that. But that's one of the situations that scammers take advantage of. They take advantage of your ability, our condition to comply with authority.
That's why it's called authority bias. It's one of the most powerful tools in the scammer's toolkit. They're official messages, if you will. And here's how they use it. They'll impersonate the IRS, they'll impersonate the Social Security Administration, or even your bank, and then they use official looking emails or logos, spoofed caller IDs, and then they'll show the real agents and phone numbers. And they'll speak with commanding language like, you must act now. And failure to comply will result in your arrest. They'll use that type of language.
So, in 2024, the SEC also shut down a cryptocurrency investment scam that had stolen $14 million from victims. And, here's what made it so effective. It looked completely legitimate. So, let's look at how exactly they pulled that off here.
So why everyone's doing it? It makes scammers feel safe. The scammers behind $14 million fraud created fake investment clubs on social media. And these groups appear to have hundreds and hundreds of members, and all posting about their profits and sharing their testimonials about their profits and encouraging others to join. And this is called social proof. It's our tendency to trust something because others appear to be doing it, as I mentioned earlier. And our tendency is to trust something because of that, we see the crowd, our brains interpret that as a signal of safety. The investment felt legitimate because it looked like a community. It wasn't. Every one of those members was either bought or a paid participant.
So the way they do this is they use fake testimonials, social media groups filled with what's called bot accounts, showing profits, romance scammers that mention other couples, who met this way. High pressure tactics like hundreds of people are already in it and don't miss your window. The defense is straightforward. Popular does not mean legitimate. Before you act on what you do in a group or a community, verify it. Do your own independent research. Find out for yourself. Don't use any links that they have provided.
All right, quick show of hands. Raise your hand if you think you are more likely, if you're more likely than average to fall for a scam. Okay, let's say, raise your hand if you're about average to fall for a scam. Okay, how about less likely to fall for a scam? Okay, all right, if you said less likely, you just demonstrated something called optimism bias. And you are in a very good company. So it's nothing wrong with that. You're just in very good company. Because most people give that exact answer. That's exactly what we think.
So here's the data behind that. 37% of investors say they worry about fraud. 89% says they don't believe they would be targeted or fall for a scam. But yet when tested, 50% of all those people can't identify what a scam is. So, you know, that gap is another reason that, scammers are successful.
And when we believe that, we stop, you know, this can't happen to me, we stop being cautious, we skip the verification steps, and we miss the red flags that are out there, and the reality check is, I think Les mentioned, 41% of Americans lost money in the 2024 for fraud. And these aren't unintelligent people, these are people who believe, as most of us would, that they see it coming ahead of time, and the lesson isn't to be paranoid or become paranoid, is to apply basically a consistent system regardless of how confident you feel. And we'll get to that system here shortly.
So remember Liza Likens, and you know, real person, some for who was it? Stevie Nicks, yes. Lost $1.2 million. It didn't start with $1.2 million. It started with $1,000, and then it grew from there. But the psychological forces, you know, I've already put $1,000 in. You know, I gotta keep going. You know, all of us wanna stay with it.
Yeah, so why do people keep sending money? The pattern lies a little like this. You know, first request was $1,000. Can you help with a small emergency? And then months later, $10,000 for mining equipment. And then $250,000 for mail. And the final total, $1.2 million. So the psychology here is called the sunk cost fallacy. I mentioned it earlier. By the time Liza had sent $500,000, stopping felt like she was admitting all of it had been wasted. Her brain said, if I send just one more payment, I'll prove this is real, this was real. And the scammer knew exactly how to use it. And when she confronted him, he said, don't throw it away, you won't be admitted.
So one of the most consistent tactics is isolation. And you know, the scammer will tell you, don't tell me. This is confidential. Stay on the line, don't get off. If you tell your family, it'll just make things worse. And you know, the reason they do that is because when you're in this emotional state, the outside voices from somebody like a friend, a family member, a financial advisor, they're a scammer's worst enemy. They kind of help you rationalize things in most cases. So, you know, waiting is something they don't want to hear.
So if you've ever been targeted by a scam or know someone that has, please hear this. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Shame is actually one of the scammer's most powerful tools. Victims feel they should have known better, and that embarrassment deepens as the scam continues on, and it keeps them silent, which prevents them from getting outside help, if you will. Even when they're in the midst of it. There's even a term of what happens next, and that's called a sucker list. Scammers actually sell names and contact information of people who have already been victimized to other criminal networks. So shame and silence make people easier to retarget. And reporting, so if you report scams, then don't be silent about it. So come out of that, whatever shame and embarrassment you may have, or your friend may have, by being a victim. And report the scam, whether to the law enforcement or the Federal Trade Commission or your financial advisor. That's not embarrassing. It's actually helping you protect. It's helping us all protect each other.
So what, even though we understand the emotional side and how they get hijacked, what else makes smart people misjudge what's real?
That brings us to idea 2, which is another key idea. Technology has advanced far faster than people's understanding of how easily it can be manipulated, creating a dangerous gap between what looks real and what isn't. So let's show you exactly what that means.
So I'm going to read you a little story. A finance employee at a large multinational company in Hong Kong received an email that appeared to be from the company CFO. It described a confidential transaction that needed to be processed urgently. The employee suspected it might be a phishing scam wisely, he didn't act immediately. He waited for more information. He was then invited to join a video conference called with the CFO and several other colleagues he recognized. He joined, he saw their faces, he heard their voices, he recognized the people on the screen, and he transferred $25.6 million, the equivalent of 200 million Hong Kong dollars. Every person on that call was a deep fake, an AI-generated replica of real employees at the company, built for publicity or publicly available video and audio of those individuals. The scam was only discovered when the employee later contacted the company's head office directly. By then, the company was gone, or the money was gone. And, you know, this is not science fiction. This actually happened just a couple of years ago. And the technology that did this is only better today than it was then. Okay.
So AI tools now replicate faces and voices so accurately that most people obviously can't tell the difference. It can clone a person's voice in as little as 30 seconds of audio, capturing their tone, their inflection, their accent, their emotion. It can generate real-time video that places anyone's face in any scene, if you will. And it can do all those things in a live call, if you will. So scammers use these clips for social media to build convincing impersonations and take clips off of videos online. And a grandchild's voice, a spouse's voice, a boss giving you instructions, and visual or audio cues we've always used to confirm identity are no longer basically reliable on their own.
So technology makes it simple to mimic legitimate systems and identities. Many of us use similar types of things to do our daily jobs these days, or starting to. And caller ID can display any name or number that the scammer wants. Email domains can be created, spoofed, and they look just like one decimal point off than what the real email domain looks like. Fake invoices can be created, and then it's easy to make professional-looking documents these days.
They can imitate an organization basically with speed and accuracy, where in the past they could target just dozens of people at a time. And now with the AI-powered chatbots, they can generate just thousands of personalized attacks simultaneously. And each can be tailored to each individual situation. And to not just their situation, but also to their age and their vulnerability. So it dives really deep. So personalization that we used to take weeks, now just takes seconds.
So when we're stressed and under pressure, it compounds this ability to not be able to make a good evaluation of what's authentic and what's not. We fall back on the visual cues, which AI relates to, and things that we thought were reliable really aren't. And so, when you're under pressure, you make a quick decision. You're always thinking through the long-term effects of those decisions, and it blurs the line between what's real and what doesn't really make sense, because it's a quick under pressure decision.
Yeah, so I know you're out there wondering if you no longer trust what we see and hear, then how do scammers actually push people into acting before they can verify anything? So that's going to bring us to our third piece, the third idea of the puzzle.
Yeah. So, key idea number 3, scams. Scams nearly always manufacture a false sense of urgency, because when people rush, they skip the simple verification process that would expose the fraud to begin with.
So let's go through a situation where a couple in Pennsylvania received a call from someone identifying himself as a Social Security Administration employee. He told them their Social Security number had been compromised and was being used for criminal activity. So to protect themselves, he said that they needed to immediately liquidate all of their retirement assets and purchase gold bars, which would be secured under a new Social Security number. So basically they lost $1 million, their Social Security numbers were never at risk, there was no investigation, there was no criminal activity, except for the one being committed against them. So what made this work? And it was urgency. The manufactured pressure of hearing from a person in authority, say act now, or what they thought was an authority, say act now or face consequences, basically collapsed the couple's ability to pause and ask, does this actually make sense? So scammers create this pressure that collapses the victim's ability to pause and verify. The fake headlines mean your benefits are suspended unless you act now. The manufactured emergencies, such as the issue of the grandchild, or your bank account, or the IRS saying a crisis scenario, or the threats of consequences like fines and arrests, blocked accounts, or lost opportunities, or emotional urgencies, such as they're tuned by messages that adapt based on the victim's reactions.
So this is wild to me, is that a computer, basically, AI, is, the modern scam tool, is, they're not just, somebody's not typing a script in there and you're reading it, or somebody's reading it. It is actually, this computer is reacting to your feedback. So when they're calling you and you hesitate, they're softening their tone to make you more interactive, or when you resist, the AI is creating this angry tone to make you react in that way as well. It's a dynamic engine that manipulates, can even manipulate us humans, and so it's really wild that it's able to do.
And when they're able to push those buttons and cause the individuals to basically go towards a payment method, it's not simple, it's an irreversible payment method. They're looking at that urgency. Once it takes hold, they steer you towards where money cannot be recovered, such as crypto ATM transfers. And they're fast, anonymous, and impossible to reverse. Gift cards. Scammers claim that they're secure verification methods, that's what they'll say. Wire transfers, where large sums are moved before the banks can intervene. Payment requests escalate quickly, pressure to act before questioning anything. So those are some things that are potentially irreversible.
How many people have seen a crypto ATM in Hickory? Anybody seen one? There's one at one of the most random convenience stores in Piedmont that we ran into.
It's right beside home, it's right beside Lake City Grill,
Yeah.
the Green Service Station. It's been there for years, actually.
Yeah.
An ATM,
So anyway, don't go do your scam over there. So, here's the deal, when you're getting this pressure, even from AI, the most important thing you can do is just really pause. And, 30 to 60 second pause to be able to just think through before you act is really enough time to break a lot of scams entirely. So, stop reacting before the panic and allow the panic to fade. And, the scammers lose control when you hesitate, really. The more you can slow down, the more they can not manipulate the situation.
So, let's just mention, and we'll cover here anymore, is this, think through scenarios where You know, urgency breaks our ability to think clearly. I mean, if somebody calls a child's got an issue, and your mind starts racing. You got a big, somebody is making some type of claim. Your mind can think crazily in just a few seconds. But how do we create habits that protect us even when our emotions are high?
When emotions are high like that, you can't really, your thinking is not rational. You can't outthink, scan the moment. So what you can do is practice a system to be able to, be ready for that. And scammers, can't react. So, we want to build a simple, repeatable system that when you need it, you can also pull upon that knowledge and that it just happens automatically.
And you have this in front of you, the proof framework, and this we're sharing that with you tonight as we've learned and it's provided tonight is it's to protect your family from scams by basically slowing down in the moment and applying a simple, repeatable framework, as Les just mentioned, of taking action, no matter how real or urgent or emotional a message feels. So the proof process gives your rational brain time to think, time to catch up, and controls the situation before a scammer can. Proof stands for pause, require a second source, observe inconsistencies, outside verification only, and forget to request. So let's go through each one.
So the first step is pause. Like I said earlier, 30 to 60 second pause, can really break the momentum of the scam. Gives you time for your brain to settle and for you to be rational again. When you don't react immediately, the scammer really loses momentum. So you're always allowed to say, remember, you're always allowed to say, I need a moment. Let me call you back. I need to check on this before I do anything. And, any reasonable person that's not trying to scam you or organization is going to allow you that, right?
So here's what happens when someone pauses instead of reacting. The emotional spike, it eases. And the crisis suddenly seems less certain. Details that felt invisible under pressure, they kind of start to come out, start to surface. And scam, which obviously depends entirely on your instant compliance, as the scammer is saying, the scammer cannot proceed.
So if you think something's a little off, never trust a single call, a single text, a single email without, verifying through the source through a separate channel. If your bank calls you, hang up and call the number that's on the back of your bank card and verify that it's them. If you get an email, go to the website. Don't go to the link that they provided you in the email. Go to the website of the company that emailed you. Another thing is if a family member calls and says I'm in trouble or there's an emergency, have a family password set up to verify. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but it's a phrase that you can have in your family that only y'all know, and it'll make sure that they're not fake. And if someone's pressuring you not to hang up, and not to check on something, not to call elsewhere, the scam is probably showing its head right there.
So a second source usually instantly kind of exposes the fraud, if you will. And this is, if a caller says, don't hang up, or you hang up and call your bank directly, the fraud is, if you do that, and you call your bank, the fraud is going to be exposed in 60 seconds. If your email says your account is locked, you go directly to the website and everything's fine. Or if your grandchild is in danger, you call your grandchild directly, they answer, well, they're safe. So, the 60-second scam breaker is the scammer calls, you say, I'll call you back, You'll look up the real number yourself, you call directly, the scam's exposed in under a minute.
So, the first note of proof is observe, and that means observe inconsistencies. Look for, once you pause, look for something that's off. Does the timing of the message not seem right? Is the grammar off slightly? Is the payment method unusual? I mean, would most people request you to pay them in cryptocurrency? Does the story change when you ask questions or ask them to repeat themselves? Those kind of things.
Yes, there's some common red flags, official messages, well, I should say official messages sent from personal email addresses or unrecognized phone numbers, a bank or government agency asking you to pay with gift cards or cryptocurrency. A loved one's voice sounds right, but the story doesn't match anything that you've known about them through their whole life. The person becomes irritated or aggressive when you ask simple clarifying questions, or if any one of these is worth basically a full stop and verification before proceeding on.
So the second O is outside verification only. So when you verify something, use the contact information you find yourself. Don't rely, like I said, don't rely on a link inside of an email or a number that they provided to you on a text or a call. Look up the organization on your own and maybe look at a couple sources. The caller ID can be fake, so look up the other phone number, and then a real organization should encourage you to verify their information. They want you to verify. I know we do. We love when people verify, so it gets them on our website more, right? And it's they learn about us, and the willingness to allow you to do that means it's legit.
So here's what outside verification does in practice. It instantly dissolves the illusion. So the agent isn't listed as the real agency, and the bank alert never happened, and your account is fine. Your loved one confirms they're safe and has no idea what you're talking about. And the imposter ends communication the moment the real verification begins, if you will. So independent verification is the single most reliable scam stopper available to anyone, and it requires zero technical expertise. I recall that I had one of my friends, my parents, they had a call and their grandchild was had an issue going on. They told my parents later on when they called the kid. When they called the kid to check on their grandchild, the kid was sitting right beside their parents. So it was a total scam. But thankfully, they did go along with it and verified it. So we doing exactly what was said.
So F stands for forget the request. And so if anything feels off, if the situation doesn't pass the proof test, and the answer is simple, just forget about it, decline in the communication. No legitimate organization will punish you if you wait a little bit, or if you're being cautious, and they're not going to close your account because you didn't act immediately. And so, scammers can't force you to pay. They can't force you to provide information. You do that willingly. So, walking away for something that doesn't feel exactly right and forgetting about it, and before you report it, forget to act on it is the way to do it.
So this final step, it ends everything. It ends even the most sophisticated scams. I'm not proceeding until I've confirmed this through my own channels. It ends the interaction immediately. Scammers will not follow with real documentation because there isn't. And the pressure collapses the moment you refuse to act. And you walk away with your money and your information intact.
So once you learn how to slow the moment down, the scammers lose their advantage. And that's what the proof system gives you. if, you've already been targeted, or if someone you love reaches out and they get scammed, let's talk about what to do then. So, some of us have already been told.
So if you haven't, these next slides are gonna identify exactly what that entails.
So, the first 24 hours are important. If you realize you've been scammed in the first 30 minutes, you need to do these things. You need to stop all communication with the scammer immediately. Don't respond to any follow-up calls or any messages. If you send any money, call your bank, get your credit cards stopped, get your payment, try to get your payment reversed, stop the payment on the thing, freeze your account, dispute the charge. You know, in this first 30 minutes, all those, every second counts. If you shared any login credentials to any websites, banking account, anything, or any kind of passwords, you know, change that immediately. Get on your computer and change that on every account that you use that password.
And as time goes by, the next, the first 24 hours, file official reports. And these official reports can be filed with the Federal Trade Commission. They have a fraud reporting portal. The FBI has an Internet Crime Complaint Center. Also, the local police department to get a case number. You're going to need a case number if you contact your credit bureaus. Which you'll need to then contact your credit bureaus, Equifax. The three main ones are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion to place a freeze on your credit. Now, doing so is free and can prevent any additional damage. So, and certainly you want to tell your financial advisors, we can help monitor your accounts and investments. And we by that time, we potentially, if anything was going, we would probably already be aware of anything or tactics being potentially used against other clients at that time. You know, just it's a fair warning about what other things to look at.
Yeah. So, it doesn't just end with the first 24 hours, over the following weeks and months. You're going to want to monitor your accounts, probably for 6 months. Consider enrolling in a credit monitoring agency. Contact AARP, because they have a fraud watch network. That number is, I believe, located right there, 877-908-3360. They provide free support and guidance for fraud victims. You know, report what happened, report it to the agency, so, you know, not only they can help you, but they can help protect others as well that may be in the next line of fire for that scammer.
So there are some signs that you're being specifically targeted. So most scams are random, you know, through mass emails, cold calls, long sweeps, but occasionally someone is specifically chosen. And if that's the case, here are some of the signs. Multiple scam attempts from different sources in a short time frame. Scammers who know specific details about you or your employer, family members, your recent purchases. Attempts that continue even after you've identified and rejected their initial contact. Highly personalized messaging. It doesn't feel like a mass market scenario or tactic. And so this describes your situation. Your personal information may have been compromised in a data breach or sold on the criminal forums like we mentioned earlier. You may be on what's called that marks list.
So here's some additional things if you think you have been targeted by scammers. You can report to the FBI's IC3, which is ic3.gov. Report it there. Freeze your credit with all the bureaus. Enable two-factor authentication on all your financial accounts, which I would say you should, and all your emails. I would say you should do that anyway. It's a pain in the butt, but it works. Review your digital footprint. You know, what is visible on social media. A lot of people, you know, put their whole life on Facebook lot of information about what you put, if you show what you're eating every night, you know, so. Consider it an identity theft protection service, and then, you know, once again, use resources like your financial advisor and people that you trust, professionals that you work with, to help you monitor your accounts and give you advice on what to do next.
So we're gonna close this out, and you have in front of you kind of the larger sheet of paper. Gail's also put a little nice note card out there with some highlights from this evening. But the large sheet of paper is gonna have a quick review of the proof framework. And this is kind of not new potentially something you keep on your refrigerator. Your family's 5-step scam prevention system. Firstly, pause, break the emotional grip. So give yourself 30 to 60 seconds before reacting. And don't make things feel so urgent. R is required. Make sure you acquire a second source. Verify through a completely different channel than who you're talking to on the phone, than the one that contacted you. O, observe the inconsistencies, look for details, and don't add up. Trust your feeling, trust your gut. Something's off, if it is. The second of it is outside verification only. Always use contact information you find yourself. Never what the caller or the sender provides to you. And F, forget the request. If anything fails the test up until that point, then just simply, the answer is simply no, and end the communication right away.
So,
We want to make, anyway, I just kind of add, just a final thought, write this down. I'd like you to, when we're leaving hanging, share it with your family. As I said, put it somewhere you'll see it. And the best time to kind of learn it is is before you need it.
So we're gonna do questions and take questions in a little bit. Before we do that, here's some things about the family meeting. If you don't, just listen to this and have your meal and walk out of here and don't use any of this stuff, you're just as susceptible to scams as before you show up here today. Okay, so at least go home, take 30 minutes, talk to your family or your wife or whoever is in your household that can help you out about the proof method. Talk to them about the family password and how the pause for 20 to 30 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds can really make a difference. And set that family password. To me, that's a big deal. If somebody called me up and said, your daughter's in danger, I'm going to be freaking out so bad. Or if it says, hey, my dad, I'm in danger. It sounds like my daughter. I'm going to believe exactly what they tell me. But if I say, well, tell me the password, and she's able to quickly tell me a password, and if it's something she can remember, then I'm going to know she's really in danger. But otherwise, that could really save. So all of us would give every dime we have for somebody that we really love. So get that family password.
All right. Well, I think right now we're going to open it up to any questions. Anything out here that we may have? I know we touched on a lot of things. There may be questions. We may have to hunt those if we don't have the exact answer, but we're happy to listen and try. So
we'll try to get back to you if we don't have the answer or not.
exactly. Anything out there? I hope that you're not scared of the 2 letters AI. I hope that I know that we use that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a great tool, but it's also, just like anything in the wrong hands, it can be used against people that are not ready for it. So, well, we must have done a great job. If you have any other questions, that are more personal, or you're, feel free to come up to us or write it down on one of the sheets of paper you're leaving on the table, and we'll grab it, we'll reach back out to you.
Yeah, the ladies are adamant that, we always like, responses on one of the sheets on your, on the table. We've got a few questions on there. We love for your, responses on there, and tell us how we did, or other things, or just questions you have about this evening, if you didn't want to raise your hand, that's fine.
So, you know, that's just the end of our presentation, but we do appreciate you guys coming. On the table, you will see, some paper there, where you can add someone to our mailing list. Who here is on our mailing list right now? They know they're getting mail from us. It's pretty good information, right? I know not everybody opens them up, but we mail it anyway. But, we send out a monthly, article. We have a quarterly newsletter that's a market update, plus, you know, here's some things this time of year that you need to be acting on for your financials. It's really good information. We want to get that in the hands of people that you like. We want to get that in the hands of people that maybe one day they don't have to come in and meet with us immediately or whatever, but one day they might need some advice. And we'd love to help your friends and family. So if, you know, write their name down if you don't know their address or whatever, we'll reach back out to you and help track that down. Just write their name down. If you do write the name down, we have what's called the Client Ambassador Program. So what that is we like to thank people that help us grow, okay? And we've got room for some new clients, and if you know, when we get a referral or a suggestion to be an introduction to a friend, you become part of our Client Ambassador Program. And what that means is we will, we have every year we have one event that's just a big event that's a thank you. Last year it was a chef's dinner out at one of the local country clubs, and we had a wine pairing with a really nice meal with several different dishes, and everybody had a great time. I know a couple of people in this room were there, and we had a good time. We had some laughs and some good food. So we'd love to see everybody in this room there at that. What happens when we put the name on the mail list? They get the mailer. They at the most will get a call just saying, hey, you're getting our mailers. And other than that, we're not pressuring them to do anything. We just want them to know we're here when the time's right for them that they need somebody. So we appreciate that. Appreciate you guys attending. Don't forget our webinar series. I don't know if that's something new we started this year, but once a month, we've been having a webinar. We may take a couple months break here during the summer, but our last one is June 16th. You can go to our website and sign up for that. This one, you can see all the ones we've done. We've had some really nice topics, but this one is going to be the 6 steps of legacy planning, and I believe Kelly's going to be highlighted in this one. She's our estate planning authority here in the office. So if anybody's got any questions about, you know, whether things are set up right when, you know, we're no longer around or you're no longer around, this would be a good time to learn a few things. So, did I leave anything out there?
No, I think that's it. I see Gail walking up here, so I'm sure that we have something.
Okay.
Surprise.
Give Gail the mic there.